Changes have come to Hallis Hall. What does this mean for the rest of the 2024 season for the Chicago Bears? We'll give you our thoughts coming up. In the rest of the NFL action from yesterday, the Buffalo Bills have set the mark for the AFC, while in the NFC is maybe it's up for grabs between Philadelphia and Detroit. We'll give you our thoughts and we'll give you the rundown from the rest of yesterday's action. In basketball, the Chicago Bulls are eliminated from the NBA Cup while one of their core players sets a personal high career mark. In college football rivalry weekend takes it to a whole nother level, and we'll have old school TV Monday. That and a whole lot more as Second City Sports. The Monday edition starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports, the first one for the month of December. You're live in living color right here in Sports Soul Chicago. I am Sidney Brown, a.k.a. Sid the Kid. My lovely co-host, Ms. Lakina McGee, will join me in just a moment. In the meantime, in between time, you can check me out via the social media streets on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Don't forget to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour live extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Myself or Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina and or myself, if I'm broadcasting here by myself, the full powers to give you fools the bill and beer boot. But before we begin, we must remind you whether you watch us live right now via our Facebook or YouTube page, or you're watching us part of the replay game. Don't forget we are always here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and you know we will provide. And we will be providing you with the best Chicago and national sports talk right here on Second City Sports. Coming up, we'll discuss the Chicago Bears and their blunder inside Ford Field on last Thursday on Thanksgiving. Changes, as I mentioned at the top of the show, took place following that game. We'll give you the details. What does this mean for the Bears going forward? And in basketball, the Chicago Bulls will be eliminated for the NBA Cup. And of the details surrounding the team. But first, we'll kick off with this edition of Second City Sports by discussing the Chicago Bears and their 23-20 loss to the Detroit Lions last Thursday on Thanksgiving. I know most of the nation watched that game, including yours truly. And of course, the meltdown that happened with now ex-head coach Matt Eberflus following their last drive for the Chicago Bears, as they were in the position with one timeout to tie the game at 23 or perhaps win it. But after the last play where Caleb Williams was sacked with 32 seconds left, the Bears took their sweet-ass time getting to the line. No one called time out. The clock continued to run down through the last seconds. The Bears barely got the play off. The pass was incomplete, intended for Rome Odunze. He was triple covered within the end zone, and the Bears lost the game. And plus led to the last straw with the guys above, with Gian Ryan Poles and George McCaskey and Kevin Warren crew to fire head coach Matt Eberflus the next day. We talked about the coaching ever since the Washington loss almost a month ago now. That spilled over to what happened in that lackluster effort against Arizona the following week. You know what happened with the New England Patriots game that following week, getting blown out at home by a team that's trying to tank. And then, of course, 2 weeks ago against the Green Bay Packers, instead of running another play to get your field goal kicker closer to kick the game winner, you stand pat and kick the ball low, and for the second consecutive week, your your field goal team gets blocked, which transferred over to the Minnesota game prior to the last Thursday's Thanksgiving loss to Detroit Lions. So the current 6 game losing streak is just unacceptable. Matt Eberflus, nice guy, but he had to go. His flaws outweighed his positive attributes as a head coach. He's a great defensive coordinator, but he is not a head coach. You saw that throughout the last few weeks. You saw that throughout this current losing streak that they're on right now. And the players have been complaining about they want to be coached harder. And sometimes I know coaches, especially in today's NFL, you want to be the player's friend. But I feel like most of the coaches, and the younger coaches, especially in today's professional sports world, you're trying to be their friend, but if you quote unquote turn on them, try to be too much of a hard ass, it is going to turn them off. You got to have that perfect balance in between being the tough guy when you need to be and somebody to care about you when the time is right. You can't be one or the other. You got to have that balance. And but for what this Bears team needs right now, it's a guy that's going to command the room, a guy that everybody is going to respect, and that head coach has a plan to move forward. If you don't fit that plan, you're out of here. And for now, ex-head coach Matt Eberflus, the guys may have liked him personally, but they did not like him as a head coach. And you saw that throughout the young season with their play. Even during that current 3 game winning streak when the Bears were 4-2, there were some things that the Bears did wrong, but they overcame it with a simple gameplay, and Caleb Williams started to play better. And speaking of Caleb Williams, last Thursday, he played well. It was one of the few people that you cannot blame for their loss last Thursday. He passed for 256 yards off of 20 of 39 passing. He had 3 touchdown passes and no interceptions. Now, under ex-offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, he had 9 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. Ever since Thomas Brown, who's your new head coach now, took over the play calling, offensive play calling, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. So Caleb Williams is starting to do his thing. It looks like he's starting to show some signs that he's the franchise quarterback that many Bears fans have hoped. And right now, what does this mean for the rest of the Bears season going forward? You have 5 games remaining. Your next game is at San Francisco next Sunday afternoon. I'll ask you, the rest of the Bears fans out there that are listening and watching right now, you can go and comment on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Outside of Caleb Williams, what does the rest of this season mean for the Chicago Bears? I'll tell you what this rest of the season means for the Chicago Bears outside of Caleb Williams. Wherever young guys that haven't gotten much playing time due to injuries or whatnot, they need to play right now. You got to see what you have going forward. We know that GM Ryan Pace has a lot of work to do this offseason. He needs to fix that offensive line. You need to draft another pass rusher to go opposite of Montez Sweat. And you need to add some more guys to that secondary. Kevin Byard, I know he was a big veteran free agent that was brought over here in the offseason. He hasn't done much this year. And Tyreek Stevenson, I still believe he could be a big-time player in this league, but he was one of the his actions was one of the downfalls to start this losing streak. You know what happened in that Washington game. He was messing around with the fans as the final play was going on. He ran back over there, but not in the nick of time because that Hail Mary play happened. One of the reasons why is because of his lack of actions and lack of detail. But what does the rest of the season mean to you, the Bears fan? Will you even watch it all? Are you watching for Caleb Williams? Are you watching for something else? Or are you watching for new interim head coach Thomas Brown? Do you think if the Bears should win 3 out of the next 5 games, win all 5, which I think is impossible, but I digress. If they win 2 out of the next 5 games, 3 out of the next 5 games, they look competitive in all of them, does this mean if Thomas Brown does a good job, does this mean he's the next head coach for the Chicago Bears? Or who do you have on the list where who could be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears? Give me your thoughts at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Yours truly will get them up on the screen for you. As far as last Thursday's loss to the Detroit Lions, the Bears, they looked great passing. Keenan Allen caught 2 of the 3 touchdown passes from Caleb Williams. He looked good. Roma Duze, he looked okay, but thought he should have been better. He only had 2 catches for 29 yards. Cole Kmet, 3 catches for 26 yards. I thought they could have looked for him a little bit more. The Bears offense got off the bus slow. They were shut out in the first half in terms of scoring, but they did pick it up in the second half. Their lack of commitment of the run game and what happened in the first half, in my opinion, it was one of the two reasons, both the reasons why the Bears lost that game on Thursday. The Bears only had 78 yards total rushing as a team. You're not going to win many games in this league when you don't rush the ball for over 100 yards or more. Caleb Williams led, it was tied for the team lead in rushing yards, so that's not going to get it done if you're an NFL team trying to improve and trying to take it to the next level. As far as the defense is concerned, they only drew up 2 sacks against Detroit's Jared Goff. That's not going to get it done either. On the flip side for Detroit, David Montgomery, he didn't have the big impact we all thought he was going to have, the former Chicago Bear from a few years ago, but he did lead the Lions in rushing with 89 yards. Jameer Gibbs, his backup, had 87 rushing yards in the early touchdown. Jared Goff was spectacular once again for the Detroit Lions. I know he didn't look that great according to his stat sheet. He was only 21 and 34, 21 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he was very effective. When you have a strong running game, you don't have to carry the team as a quarterback that much. And Jared Goff was still effective, even with a stronger running game behind him. Now, the Lions defense, we all know they're missing Aiden Hutchinson. He's out for the year, but the rest of that group picked it up. 5 sacks in all. With that Bears offensive line suffering through injuries and lack of consistency, the Lions defense took advantage of that. And what happened at the end of the game, as I talked about just a few minutes ago, it was very inexcusable for what happened to Matt Eberflus. If you listen to all the calls for both locally here in Chicago, ESPN 1000 with Jeff Joni and Top Theory on Bears Radio, and to Chicago's very own Jason Benetti, who called the game with Ryan Leaf on Westwood One Radio, they were all perplexed on what happened at the end of that game with Matt Eberflus not calling timeout with 32 seconds left to go. I thought it was inexcusable. I know he tried to defend it after the game with his post-game presser and what happened the next day before his firing was announced later on that morning, Friday morning. I thought it was inexcusable. Like I said, it was one of the reasons why the Bears lost the game to the Lions on last Thursday on Thanksgiving. Joining me right now is my co-host, Miss Lakina McGee. How are you doing, Miss McGee?
What's up, Sid? Sorry about that. I was doing like 5 different things, and yeah, I couldn't get my computer going. But I'm here now, folks. So how are ya?
I'm doing great. I was just giving our listeners my thoughts about what happened last Thursday against the Detroit Lions. Of course, the Bears lost by 3, and everybody's talking about it. The one time out you left carrying your pocket into the locker room, everybody's talking about it. I want to get your thoughts. I was in
Yeah,
shock
I'll
when I
keep it.
first saw it, and I said I couldn't believe what I just saw. But I'll let you have the floor or what happened in the last 32 seconds of the game.
Well, no, I'll keep it short because we got to get into the coaching stuff, and of course we got to get to the rest of the
Mhm.
week 13 in the NFL. But it's kind of like one of those things where you just like that was inexcusable. You saw like all the pundits afterwards. They got on them on the NFL Today afterwards. Fox
Mhm.
NFL Sunday got in on them, and everybody NFL Network, ESPN, everybody else did. So it's sort of one of those things where you're just like that was just inexcusable. And then I just saw Thomas Brown, interim coach's presser, saying that he takes full responsibility for that blunder at the end of the game. Now the whole thing just is a microcosm of the Bears season. So yeah, they find other ways to lose. So who knows if Kyra Sanders would have missed it, or maybe they had their own Hail Mary. We'll never know. But it's just one of those things where like that just perfectly describes the Bears season in a nutshell. So I know real quick before we go to break here. Now that the Bears are now searching for a new head coach, and because I'm seeing some of the reports that some people say, well, this guy's name and this guy's name, like I don't like. See, here's the thing. I just like I said, you're listening to to Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles' presser. I have no faith that they're going to get this right. I don't.
Mhm.
And I think for me, I think that just shows you why this is just a cycle, a repeating cycle of the last 30 or 40 years for the Bears.
Yeah, I have two. I have two quick questions for you before we break. I'll ask one of them here, and I'll ask you the other one on the flip side of this commercial. I'll ask you about how did you receive the news last Friday morning when Matt Eberflus was fired at 9 o'clock last Friday morning? He was allowed to give his post-game presser to the local media via Zoom, and then of course 2 hours later it was announced that he was fired. You may not like his coaching decisions like most of us logical folks and fans, but the way that the Bears management did him wrong, I thought that was really low down, as our parents used to say back in the day. We get it, it's a business, you have to win, but the way he was treated going out the door, I thought that was ridiculous. You cannot tell me, I was telling somebody this over the weekend, you cannot tell me that the Bears didn't make up their mind after what happened last Thursday. As you mentioned, everybody and their mama made a subject out of it, and rightfully so, because of what happened in the last 32 seconds of the game. You cannot tell me that the Bears management did not make up their mind after what happened last Thursday.
If you read some of the reports and some of the other various reports from Adam Johns and Diana Rossini, and then a little kind of a joint statement with the Athletic, and some of the other reports that came out, apparently, I guess, they already made up their minds. So why did they let him do the presser at 9 a.m. and then knowing that they'd already fired him? That was cowardly and unjust on his part. So I think that was totally uncalled for there. You should just asked him, either told him late Thanksgiving night or perhaps maybe early that morning before they do the presser, and then you put him out there in front of everyone to see just a couple hours there just to give him the boot. So yeah, again, that's why I have no faith in them in this coaching search.
Yeah, like you said about the coaching search, we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. I know there's names galore that's been reported over the weekend and all that. We'll get into that as the days and weeks go on. But I'm gonna ask this one question, this last question, Lakina, and I want you to ponder your answer throughout the break. And to the rest of you out there, Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page and Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube, what does the rest of the season mean for the Chicago Bears? I'll put Caleb Williams to the side. What does this rest of the season mean to you as the Bears fan to close out 2024? I'll let you think about that, Lakina. Rest of you fans, go to our Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your answers and we'll get them up on the screen. When we return, we'll get Lakina's answer to what does the rest of the season mean for the Chicago Bears, and we'll recap the rest of the games from Thanksgiving weekend, including what happened yesterday. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You listen to the Monday edition of Second
This year, my mom got me the perfect. This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the first show for the month of December. You're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kingdom again on the Twitter, execute again, IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. Now, before we get to the rest of the NFL action from over the weekend, Lakina, I left you off with a question before the break. As a Bears fan, what does the rest of the schedule look? What should the rest of the season look like for the Chicago Bears outside of Caleb Williams? What are you watching for in these five remaining games of the season? And what should Bears fans be looking for as we head down the home stretch to close out the 2024 season?
Well, the last 5 games are going to be, let's just say interesting to say the least, because you got the 49ers who are reeling, then you've got Seattle who's been on a roll. Then the rest of the time you're going to be face your divisional opponents. So this is going to be one of those days where, like, look, if you go 3-2, fine. If you go 4-1 and barely miss the playoffs, fine. But everyone has to be on the same page. Caleb's got to keep getting better. The defense has to, the defense has not shown a lot. Of course, you did a nice little showing there. You kept it from a blowout against Detroit, but you haven't really been, nothing to write home about lately. So you need to kind of finish strong here. Because I think a lot of these guys will be playing for their jobs. And, for me, I think we'll see if they can, do that, because I kind of feel like this is going to be where everything is. Now, as far as Thomas Brown, real quick, before we look, if it goes 3-2, 4-1, what have you, look, you have a shot at getting the coaching job. But at the same time, if you go like 1-3 or like 1-4 or like 0-5 or 2-3, then you're like adios. I know people want to say that, for continuity purposes, but for me, I think I know we said that we're not going to talk about the coaching staff, but yeah, we guys like Marcus Freeman, which I don't think that's the case. I think that's just his agent trying to get some money out of Notre Dame and some other names that we get flown around there. I just think that, for this kind of thing, I think we want to. I saw John Griever from The Athletic, his tweet saying that, hey, look, maybe if the Bears finish season 5-0 and they make the playoffs as a 7th seed, what would be the point of that? Like, you're going to an Antonio Pierce kind of situation, and look what's happening over in Las Vegas. So I think for me, I think it's gonna be one of those things where, like, we'll see. Put the Bears' money where their mouth is, as they say.
All right. Now let's get to the rest of the games that took place, not just yesterday, for over the Thanksgiving weekend. We'll start with the last 2 games that took place on Thursday following that Bears loss to the Lions. The Dallas Cowboys get back to 2 games under 500 after defeating the halfless New York Football Giants 27-20.
Yeah, I mean, just wasn't well. The game actually, it was actually a pretty entertaining game for the most part, for like the early part of it. But then, Dallas, kind of got the better of the Giants in the end, and the Dallas, Cowboys are kind of in a roll right now. I don't think they're gonna have enough to be able to get into the playoffs, but they can kind of like try to finish strong there. And Cooper Rush's been really solid. The defense was really good, and nice effort by the Giants, but it just wasn't enough.
And the nightcap on Thanksgiving night took place in Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where the Packers get by the Dolphins 30-17. It was total domination throughout the entire game. Tua Tagovailoa for the Dolphins, 365 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 19 carries, 43 yards in the score for Green Bay. And Mr. Jonnu Smith for the Miami Dolphins, their big tight end, 10 catches for 113 yards.
Yeah, Green Bay, again, not the prettiest, but they did just enough to win. I think the defense was really solid. Tua had a nice showing there, but the Packers are kind of like, that team where you're kind of like, you don't know what you're going to get, but they've been playing pretty well. So yeah, they're 9-2, they're 5-2 at home. Jordan Love had 2 touchdown passes. Jacobs wasn't really a factor, but they really didn't need to be. So yeah, I mean, the defense just for the for the Packers to win that game, and only 39 rushing yards for the Dolphins. So yeah, that was another reason why they weren't able to keep it close. It wasn't as close as the final score indicated, as I would say.
And for the second year in a row, in the last Friday's NFL annual Black Friday contest that took place at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, where we had controversy toward the end of the game with the botch snap by the Raiders. The Kansas City Chiefs get by the Las Vegas Raiders 19-17. Aiden O'Connell for Las Vegas, 23 of 35, 340 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Tight end Brock Bowers for the Raiders had 10 catches, 140 yards, and a score.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was another one of those, like, again, sort of the same thing here with the Raiders, kind of like a microcosm of their season. And of course, the Chiefs, find a way to, escape again. And there was actually a couple of missed field goals before that, so that botch snap should not even be a factor. So, but that's another conversation. But yeah, I mean, they're 11-1. The Chiefs become the first team to clinch a playoff spot. I mean, what more can you say? The Raiders, Aiden O'Connell, nice effort by him, but it just wasn't enough, and just couldn't make the big plays when they needed to.
And just of note, Isaiah Pacheco, the star running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, made his return from leg surgery last Friday. He only had 44 yards of rushing as he was in limited action, backing up Kareem Hunt, who was the starting running back for the Chiefs while Pacheco was out. Let's get over to Sunday's games. Looking at what's starting in Atlanta, where the Atlanta Falcons couldn't overcome Kirk Cousins' 4 interceptions as the Los Angeles Chargers defeated the Falcons on the road 17-13. Kirk Cousins, as I mentioned, 245 yards passing, 4 interceptions. Bijan Robinson for the Falcons, 26 carries, 102 yards and a touchdown. And for the Los Angeles Chargers, their big offensive guy, Ladd McConkey, their star wide receiver, 9 catches for 117 yards.
Yeah, really nice showing there by the Chargers after a short week with all the emotion with the Harbaugh Bowl and such. They were able to go cross country, play a new game, and end up winning. Now they're 8-4. And look, Herbert really didn't have to do too much. I mean, he was sacked 5 times and didn't have his best game, but it was really the defense that kind of stepped it up for them. Thanks to 4 interceptions and such. And Derwin James Jr. had one of those interceptions. And again, I feel like this is a Chargers team that could, but they play the Chiefs at Arrowhead on Sunday, so that's going to be a really big game, and kind of like not only for a chance, but to kind of help Buffalo out too. We'll get to them in a minute here, but yeah, I mean, Atlanta's kind of been in a free for all, so this is the reason why I picked the Chargers on our picks for our girl Christine Macca. But again, a conversation for a different time. But nice one for the Chargers.
Yeah, on to Cincinnati, Ohio. We go next as the Bengals drop one at home to the Pittsburgh Steelers, their division rival, 44-38. This was actually one of the more entertaining games of the day. We knew it was going to be some scoring in this game, but not like you're playing against your best friend or your older brother on PlayStation. Russell Wilson for the Steelers, 29-38, 414 yards and 3 touchdowns. Najee Harris for the Steelers, 16 carries, 75 yards in the score. On the flip side for the Bengals, Jamar Chase, 6 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. I heard NFL analyst and former head coach Herb Edwards said on ESPN's Sports Center last night, one of the anchors asked him, what would be your message to Steelers fans? He said, relax. Don't worry about anything. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think anybody had this, score as the final score. I mean, if you took the over in this game, I think you had the nice early Sunday afternoon. But I don't think anybody had 44-38 as a final score. I think Russell Wilson definitely easily had his best showing so far this year, and with the 3 TD passes and then a rushing TD, and it's going to be interesting to see how we can get this Steelers squad afterwards. I mean, that defense for Bengals is not very good, so they were able to take advantage of that. Now, to Joe Burrow and the Bengals credit, they try to keep it close, but the defense couldn't help them out. So that's one of the reasons why they were able to, the Steelers were able to pull this game out.
All right, the Bengals dropped to 4-8 while the Steelers improved to 9-3. To the Twin Cities next we go, where the Minnesota Vikings get by the Arizona Cardinals 23-22. Kyler Murray for the Cardinals, 31-45, 260 yards passing in a touchdown. James Carter for the Cardinals, 17 carries for 68 yards. On the flip side for the Vikings, Justin Jefferson for the Vikings. 7 catches, 99 yards, and Aaron Jones caught the receiving touchdown, which led to the game winner in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, he was actually in the doghouse for a little bit during that game. And I saw a lot of Vikings fans were not kind of happy with Kevin O'Connell's decision. But look, he came back and scored the game winner. And Justin Jefferson actually now has, he's now like near the top of when it comes to wide receivers among Vikings in their franchise history. Now, Darnold he was sacked 5 times. Give Arizona credit, but look again, the cardiac Vikes, as I call them, came back. They were able to score the last 10 unanswered points, and they were able to squeak out a win there. Again, look, they're back to being 10-2, and I don't think anybody had that early in the season so far. But this season, but yeah, I mean the Vikings are they're kind of again they're not. It's not pretty. There's no style points, thank goodness, but they got the win, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, the Cardinals, I had a chance to watch some of this game live via this computer screen. I know it was live on our television screen if you're in the Chicagoland area, but the Cardinals controlled that contest throughout. The Vikings offense, as you mentioned, they struggled to get going early, but they woke up in the second half, scoring 17 points to preserve the win. The Cardinals, as we talked about on our show last Wednesday, they needed to run the ball. They did that with James Conner, but the Vikings just made one more big play than the Cardinals did.
All right, so I list second seed sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Steve Brown with you as we go through the Week 13 schedule in the NFL. Shout out to our buddy Spiro Diaz who had the call of this game in Foxborough. I actually saw a little bit of this game, and I don't think anybody had this. Is kind of like going down to the wire here, but thanks to Anthony Richardson's TD and run with a 2-point conversion, 25-24 in their win over the Patriots. And it's interesting because I know people thought he was, they were crazy for going for it for 2 after they scored that touchdown, instead of going for the tie. Well, look, that's what happens when you trust your team. So, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, you overcome those for Richardson. On the flip side, Drake made a TD pass and an interception, threw for 248 yards. Now, the Colts defense, their credit, they sacked him 4 times. So that's why they were able to kind of keep it close. But it actually ended up being a pretty back-and-forth affair, especially in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is 0-5 this year when he has the chance to put the Jets ahead in potential game-winning drives. That Jets offense was non-void in the second half. They were shut out. They started well early, but Breece Hall, who had 60 yards rushing for the day, he had that critical fumble, which turned out to be the downfall for the Jets and in a spark plug for the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle scored 19 unanswered points, including 10 in the fourth quarter to help clinch that tough victory on the road. I hate to say it, but it's over for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if he's going to play next year. He said he wants to play next year, but we'll see about that. But Geno Smith, no turnovers. He had over 206 yards passing and a touchdown. Jackson Smith-Njigba, if I pronounce his name correctly, he's becoming the big-time target for the Seattle Seahawks, not DK Metcalf. Jackson Smith had 4 catches for 74 yards, and the defense for the Seahawks has been maligned here and there all year, but they really got after Rodgers in offense, especially in that second half.
Well, I was talking about the Colts-Patriots game, not the Jets and Seahawks. I was going to get to that game.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
No, but I'll talk about that Seahawks because I watched that game too, and the Seahawks game I think is interesting because as of late the Seahawks are kind of playing a lot better, and that bye week they had definitely did them some good. Geno Smith looked really good. He had that little gif afterwards. We saw his social media account, and look, I think you saw a little bit of that, the kind of like the little baby legion of boom right there, and the Jets are just, you probably stick a fork in them and put a taps music for them because they're done. And I don't want to say Aaron Rodgers is done either, but yeah, he's done as well. So okay, so give me your thoughts about the Colts Patriots game.
Blame the mind, not the heart. But Colts Patriots game, I got a chance to check out some of that game. The Patriots actually showed me something, Lakina. They looked better yesterday than they did here in Chicago when they upset the Bears. They actually had an offense. Drake May actually looked nice. I don't know if you checked out that 40-yard plus run he had early in the game, but he looked good. That offense they actually looked organized, and like you said, Anthony Richardson gives the Colts the best chance to win. And shout out to that head coach Jonathan Gannon, when they were going in for the potential game time score, obviously Anthony Richardson threw that touchdown, which brought them within one. Coach Jonathan Gannon of the Colts said, "We're going to go for the win if we score there." So they went for the 2 points. They got it done, and it's a tough win on the road for the Colts. They still in the playoff chase. So head coach Jonathan Gannon, you get 2 thumbs up for me for going for it. Easily you could have tied it up and sent it to overtime. You say, "Hey, I got some stones. We're 5-7. We have nothing to lose. Let's go for it." They did, and it paid off.
Yeah, they're still well within, like you said, they're still well within the AFC. A playoff picture now. Going to Central Florida to Jacksonville as Houston, they needed a field goal to beat the it was kind of back and forth for a little bit. The Jaguars came back, but the go-ahead touchdown there, and they're heading into a bye. They're one of the last few teams to go on their bye. They really need it because 23-10, they're 8-5 now. Luckily, the rest of their division isn't very good for the most part. So, I guess CJ Stroud had a touchdown, 242 yards, 101 yards for Mr. Joe Mixon in the rushing touchdown. Flip side, though, after Trevor Lawrence, we'll talk about the concussion that knocked him out the game. But Mac Jones, 235 yards and 2 TDs in relief there. But at least the Texans were able to kind of get the big players they needed, and they really need that bye week because they really need to heal up and for the stretch run.
Yeah, I checked out some of the highlights of this game. I kind of got that feel that the Texans were playing down to that competition for a while. The Jaguars, give them credit, they were in the game just about the whole way. I know they woke up in the second half scoring 17 points, including 14 of them in the fourth quarter, which they did make the score a little bit closer, but the Texans did enough just to get by. Joe Mixon, as we said all year, he makes that offense go for the Houston Texans. 20 carries, 101 yards in a touchdown. We'll talk about that hit, Lakina, on Trevor Lawrence. I thought that Shakira was dead wrong on that. I know it's today's NFL. This was back in the 80s or 90s or 70s, he would have gotten a fine, but he wouldn't have gotten each other. But this is the NFL that we are in today. Any contact towards the head, any vicious shot that we saw delivered on Trevor Lawrence yesterday, you'll get a hefty fine. You're going to get immediately ejected. So that was a great call by the refs yesterday. You cannot fool around. As the NFL always preaches about player safety, you can't mess around with this. So the refs made the right call of kicking Shakir out of the game.
He did apologize afterwards, so that might help a little bit, especially when it comes to fines and any kind of suspension. But yeah, there's really no excuse for that. You gotta have to be careful these days with those types of hits. And Lawrence Hill said, tweeted that, look, he's doing fine. He's home. We'll see. I'm sure they're going to be keep an eye on him. But nice win by the Texans, and of course, they go into a bye that they much need to kind of heal up and take a little rest before they get ready for the stretch run. The last game of the noon games, and Washington, probably their best showing since that Hail Mary, I guess, against the Bears a few weeks back. They beat the Titans 42-19, and it's kind of interesting because they've had a couple of tough losses lately, but they were able to come back and 3 TDs, and interception by Mr. Jaden Daniels. Brian Robinson Jr. is back, a TD. Also Chris Rodriguez Jr. also a TD. They combined for just under 200 yards rushing. So the defense did just enough. They sacked Will Levis a couple of times, but a nice showing by a Commanders team that really needed that win.
Yeah, if you're playing against a sub 500 team, you jump on them right away, and that's what the Commanders did. They scored 21 of their 28 first half points in the first quarter. And like you said, Lakina, with them struggling here the last few weeks, they desperately need this win to keep their playoff hopes. So they're still very much in the NFC wild card race at 8-5. They're now 5-2 at home. On the flip side, for the Titans, Will Levis didn't have his best showing. He did have 2 touchdown passes, both to Nick Rustberg and Heinke, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. That was the only highlight of the Titans offense for today. But for the Commanders, like you said, they needed this game much more than the Titans did. And this is what you have to do now. We get into the final stretch of the season, the final full month of the regular season. The Commanders need all the wins that they can get in this competitive NFC playoff race.
Yeah, they're 8-5. They're right there in the thick of it in that the NFC playoff picture. Going to the 3 o'clock games, and I don't think anybody had this game in NFC South. It's probably one of the more thrilling games, but it ended up being just that 26-23 in overtime. Bucks, he got a win in Carolina thanks to McLaughlin's field goal. Baker Mayfield, got a little bit banged up with the foot. He got his cleated like in his foot, and that probably will hurt for the next couple of days. Reed Moore's already said that he's going to be the top ball. Let's just say he's going to be probably not going to practice for a couple of days. But 2 touchdowns for Baker Mayfield and 4 times. Bryce Young, on the losing side, he keeps getting better. 298 yards and a TD, so they might be onto something down there in Carolina. Chuba Hubbard had 43 rushing yards, but had a pivotal fumble going into in overtime, which could have given Carolina the win. But of course, the Bucks recovered. Go the other way. McLaughlin's field goal sealed that win, and then now they're 6-6. And now they're in first place in the NFC South.
Yeah, they're tied with Atlanta. Of course, Atlanta owns the tiebreaker because they beat the Buccaneers twice early in the year. But it was the Bucky Irving show for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had 25 carries, 152 yards in a score. And Mike Evans, no, not the actor from Good Times, shout out Ralph Carter, but Mike Evans for the Bucks had 8 catches, 118 yards in a touchdown. Give the Carolina Panthers credit, unlike our Bears. They've been playing hard for the last few weeks. They just can't get the breaks to go there where they're in it to the end against Kansas City at home last week. They fumbled away literally their opportunity yesterday, but the Bucks, like you said, Baker Mayfield was injured early. He couldn't get his passing game going, but the Buccaneers relied on their running game, and their defense came up with that big turnover. That's why they won in overtime yesterday.
Like I said, it could be right there, especially if Atlanta's keeping a free fall. Maybe that series might not matter too much at this point now. Staying in the NFC South, going down to the Big Easy. The Rams held on against New Orleans 21-14, I should say. And kind of a slow start. There's kind of a slow start with this game, but Matt Stafford, got back into it, 183 yards and 2 TDs, 104 rushing yards and a TD for Kyron Williams, 184 yards for Derek Carr. Kamara had 112 rushing yards. Unfortunately, Taysom Hill tore his ACL, and now he's done for the year. Which is unfortunate because he was really one of the few bright spots for that Saints offense. He kind of got things going there for that Saints offense, of course. Since the coaching change, so now they're out of it at 4-8 as well, and the Rams are still right there to think of it in the wild card.
I wonder what Rams head coach Sean McVay said in that locker room at halftime. You mentioned it was a slow start for that whole Rams team. They were shut out in that first half, 6-0, but in that second half, as you mentioned, they welcomed Puka Nacua, got to go and score the go-ahead touchdown. Kyron Williams, they fed him the ball. He was rewarded with a rushing touchdown for the Saints. I was watching some of that game live via this computer screen yesterday. After that Taysom Hill injury, you could tell that whole morale, that Saints offense and that whole team went down because that defense was playing well, especially in that first half. But once Taysom Hill was carried off the field, the whole Saints offense went along with them.
Yeah, that was you could tell the air kind of went out of the Superdome there after he was injured and had to be carted off. So tough loss there for the Saints because maybe they could get a run going, but looks like that's not going to happen. But like I said, for the Rams, they're still right there in the thick of it in the NFC playoff chase. And probably one of the games of the day, the Eagles beat Baltimore. Thanks a lot, Baltimore. I had a perfect weekend going until this little game here.
I checked the tape, Lakina, real quick. I checked the tape yesterday. You did pick Philadelphia.
Oh, I did. Oh, my bad. Shit, I did. The season.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, we all picked Philadelphia. Thank goodness we did.
Oh yeah, so we all. I think we all did. I think Christine only has like one loss. I'll have to double check, but Jalen Hurts, 118 yards and a TD, 2 touchdowns for Lamar Jackson, 237 yards. Saquon Barkley had a breakaway touchdown with a 36-yard touchdown that kind of sealed the game for the Eagles. 82 rushing yards for Derrick Henry as well. But it was really the defense for Philadelphia, especially in those last quarter and a half, halfway through the third and going to the fourth. They really kind of set it up. They started kind of going out, but Cooper DeJean stepped up big. He was a rookie. He stepped up big for the Eagles, especially late.
And this is what happens as we talk about all year, Lakina. Sometimes for the Ravens, they have at least 2 or 3 of these games a year where you watching their offense. It's like watching paint dry. I was disappointed as a fan that we didn't get a high
Yeah.
scoring game from both of these teams. It
Hmm.
had to be the Pittsburgh Cincinnati game. Damn, I wanted to happen this Eagles Ravens game yesterday, but it affected my now fantasy football standings. But I digress. But you mentioned the Eagles did what they had to do to get a tough win on the road. Derrick Henry didn't have that great of the day. Saquon Barkley bounced back nicely, especially in that second half. He had 107 yards rushing in a touchdown. Zay Flowers was the only person that did anything for the Baltimore offense with 74 yards receiving off of 3 catches. But Philadelphia, they're trying to keep pace with Detroit to get that home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the NFC. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do it, but the Eagles have a pretty favorable schedule down the stretch. I know they played the Commanders one more time in their house, so I think the Eagles will grab that division, but they still have a tough stretch. Now the Ravens, with their 4 remaining games remaining, they still can get to 10 wins, but it's going to be tough for them.
Yeah, I mean, they're at 8-5 right now, and those last 4 games are, they're not going to be easy by any stretch. And that offense for the Ravens are kind of like Jekyll and Hyde. Unfortunately, we got for most part got Mr. Hyde for that offense, and they couldn't get it going. Take credit for Eagles defense. They played the Giants. I mean, I'm sure they're going to take it. They're off this week, so I think that'll help them tremendously. They play the Giants, the Steelers, the Texans, and the Browns. So I'm sure the Browns they're going to want to get that revenge. Get the Browns from that early, a couple, back about a month ago. So they could get to 10 or 11 wins. We'll see how the rankings are, especially. We'll see what happens to the Steelers in those last few games as well. But yeah, I mean that was just a tough watch for that offense for the Ravens yesterday. Now, the night game in the middle of a snowstorm up in northern New York and Buffalo, 35-10. The Bills don't trouble the 49ers. It's their 5th straight AFC East. They've already clinched the AFC East. And interesting note here. I don't think anybody had Josh Allen and Sean McDermott doing solo angels together after the game. But again, didn't have that on my 2024 bingo card, but here we are. From 1996 to 2019, they had no division titles for those 24 seasons. That's kind of like the tail end of the Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith, that era. Now you got 2020 to 24 this year. They've already had 5 division titles, and 5 division titles. They're the only team in the Super Bowl ever to go 2+ years consecutively without winning a division, but have now won 5 straight consecutively since. So Josh Allen definitely making a case for MVP. Now you gotta think he's probably the new leader, I guess, in the clubhouse. Maybe him and Saquon might be a little bit kind of a back and forth there, but he had 2 TDs. He had a rushing TD and a TD catch from Amari Cooper with a kind of a botch play. Definitely one of the plays of the year so far. But yeah, San Fran is just well, we'll talk about the other stuff later this week. We preview that 49ers Bears game. But what do you think about this game yesterday with the Bills?
My heart goes out to Christian McCaffrey. He just made it back from the injury list a couple weeks ago, and I saw that run last night where his knee. It looks like his knee actually buckled. Some people say, "Oh, maybe it was because of the snow or whatnot." It just looks bad. It looks like he's going to be out for the year. But Jordan Mason did pick up the running game for the 49ers. Yes, Brock Purdy returned, but the Bills were out in front, and so they really didn't have to really stop anybody on the 49ers. But James Cook. Let the young guy cook for Buffalo. As I said before, I'll say it again to Bills head coach Sean McDermott. Give him the rock. And they did 14 carries, 107 yards in the score. Dawson Knox, 2 catches for 56 yards. The Bills defense got home on the 49ers, and they cruised to a 25-point victory.
Just just kind of dominance there, and just couldn't get it going on the 49ers. Like I said, we'll talk about 49ers more later this week, as the 49ers host the Bears on Sunday. But the Bills. I mean, look, a lot has happened for them. They got to hope that the Chiefs, they went out and the Chiefs, somehow lose a couple of their last, few games. They definitely sneaking to get that number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yep. Now, quickly, Lakina, our studs and duds for this weekend's games in week number 13 in the NFL. I'll go first. My first stud will be, let's see, it would be the aforementioned James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. 14 carries, 107 yards in a rushing touchdown as the Bills blow out the 49ers 35-10. My second stud will go to Bucky Irving, the running back of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 25 carries, 152 yards in the score as the Buccaneers beat the Panthers 26-23 in overtime. And my third stud will go to Brian Robinson Jr., the young running back for the Washington Commanders. He wasn't supposed to play, but he gutted it out yesterday. 16 carries, 103 yards, and a touchdown as the Washington Commanders blow out the Tennessee Titans at home 42-39.
Yeah, good day for that bar because you can tell he was still a little bit of a pain. He was kind of more of a pain tolerance. I know Dan Quinn said he took a lot of cortisone shots after the game, so he'll have that week off to kind of heal up and stuff. So all right, my studs. I'll say his teammate Jaden Dale. 3 touchdown passes. Didn't really have to do too much against a Titans team, but look, I think he had the confidence. I know he's looking better and better from that rib injury that he suffered about a month ago. So, like I said, they'll have that extra week to kind of everyone to heal up and get ready for the stretch run. I'll say Anthony Richardson from Indianapolis. I mean, look, the Colton show. I mean, look, they had the balls to go for it. We're not going for a tie, we're going for the win, and they got it. Had they missed it, everyone thought they would have been nuts, but it actually ended up working out. And my last studs, I would say the Eagles. Like I said, they're probably their best team in NFL right now. I know the Bills, might have something to say about that, but they're grind, they're winning games different ways. They're dominating some games, they're grinding out in others. I think that's what you want to be battle tested as we go into the playoffs, this final stretch run.
All right, our 3 duds. I'll go first. Mine are as follows. Now, ex-Bears head coach Matt Eberflus for what he did or didn't do in the last 32 seconds of the game, not using that last timeout. I'll put a mic drop on that. My second dud, Kirk Cousins of the Atlanta Falcons, 4 interceptions as the Falcons lose to the Los Angeles Chargers 17-13 at home. And my third dud will be that New York Jets offense in the second half. Just putrid. That's one of the main reasons why you're 3-9 as the Jets lose to the Seahawks 26-21 at MetLife Stadium.
All right. My 3 duds. Baltimore. I think I do this every year when I have them as a dud. Like really, that offense just, I don't know what else. that was just like a Jekyll and Hyde. And I think unfortunately we got the high part of that offense. Arizona. I mean, you had the lead. You didn't even get a chance to put Minnesota away, and you didn't. So what the heck happened there, Arizona? You really. That was a bad interception by Kyle Murray, to kind of steal the win there. They probably had to perhaps make up for the game-winning field goal. Let's see. I'll say my last dud. Dud. What's another dud? I guess Cincinnati's defense for, giving up 44 points. Steelers to make it. Yeah, making the Russell Wilson like the peak Russell Wilson from Seattle, like at Russell Wilson. But again, I digress. I want to do a quick shout out real quick to Fox reporter, silent reporter Jen Hale. She just did her 200 broadcast at that Bucks Panthers game. It's her 200 broadcast, NFL broadcast with Fox. And of course, she does stuff with the Pelicans too. She does silent reporting. There's been doing that for a long time. A really great silent reporter, and it's her 200 NFL broadcast and still doing her thing. So I just want to give a shout out to Miss Hale, who joins that exclusive club there with the silent reporters in their 200th NFL game.
Yeah, congratulations to Miss Hale. And wrapping up Week 13 tonight on Monday Night Football, exclusively on ESPN only. No ABC, no Manning cast. As the 7-5 Denver Broncos will host the 3-8 Cleveland Browns at New Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado. Lakina, the Broncos are favored by 6. I think we all picked Denver last Wednesday on our show. It's going to come down to defense and running the football tonight, in my opinion. Bo Nix, he's played well all season long, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, but it's going to have to come down to the running game for both these teams, and Bo Nix cannot afford to turn the ball over. For the flip side for Cleveland, Jameis Winston has given this Cleveland Browns team new life, but they dug themselves too much of a hole, and they're not going to come out of it in terms of the playoffs, but they may be served well for the next couple years as they pick their franchise quarterback. But quickly, what are your thoughts about this game tonight?
Yeah, just a real quick synopsis. Like I said, don't make mistakes, bonus. You've been doing very well the last, I think, like 5 or 6 weeks, not making any mistakes, and just keep it close if you're Cleveland. I mean, this could get out of hand real quick. So if you're Cleveland, you want to try at least stay within striking distance. You let the run game going, and perhaps maybe wear out that Denver defense.
All right, once again, Monday Night Football will take place tonight on ESPN at 7 o'clock Chicago time as the Denver Broncos are looking to keep their playoff hopes alive as they host the 3-8 Cleveland Browns.
Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. The Bulls are out of the NBA Cup. Boo! We'll talk to the rest of the but we'll talk about the rest of the weekend in the NBA. A busy weekend in the NBA as well, and of course college football as a shakeup at the top for the playoffs. And of course, especially as old school TV Monday and a whole lot more. Like Keenan McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More fun coming up right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Monday edition, the first one for the month of December. You're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
We're opening up hour number 2 discussing the Chicago Bulls and the rest of the NBA action from over the weekend. If you have any questions or comments for us on that subject, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's get right to it here as the Bulls, unfortunately, they're out of the NBA Cup as they lose to the Celtics, and I don't think a lot of people was really surprised by this. Like, I know there was a little bit of a hope that maybe they were gonna perhaps maybe win this game, perhaps make it to Las Vegas, but that didn't happen. So just too much, Jason Tatum, just too much Tatum, too much too much Brown, too much, too much pretty much everybody. I know Holiday was out, but yeah, just too much of all the guys on the floor there for Boston.
Yeah, Peyton Pritchard, as we talked about the lack of, at times, the Celtics bench production, especially scoring-wise from last year. Peyton Pritchard has stepped up these last couple of games. And of course, Friday's performance was an section. 29 points from him, including 7-11 shooting from downtown. The Boston Celtics, they take more three-pointers than just about any other team in the NBA. They shot at they were 23 or 54 from downtown, and they shot the ball from the outside well at 42% clip. And when the Celtics have it going on like that, everybody playing their role, you're going to get outcomes like that. And so the Celtics, they showed you why last Friday at the UC, why they're one of the best teams in the league. And as Lakina just mentioned, Jason Tatum leads the way with 35 points. Porzingis, who has been limited in action to start the year because he was injured coming out the last playoff run, he added 21. So when you have your superstars lead the way and you have other players, including your role players, falling in line and doing their job, this is the results you're going to get. On the flip side for Chicago, Nikolai Vucevic had a season-high 32 points, including 6 and 9 shooting from downtown. Kobe White struggled once again from the outside. He only had 11 points. Zach LaVine continues to look amazing. Perhaps their trade values is starting to go up again. Once again, Lakina, he had 29 points, including 4-11 shooting from downtown. Josh Giddey struggled once again, only 4 points in 24 minutes of action. That's unacceptable. Ayo Dosunmu continued to impress Lakina as he's been inserted into the starting lineup. 13 points overall, including 6 of 11 shooting from the bench. My guy Jalen Smith, his minutes dipped a little bit, but he had 2 points and 7 rebounds. The scoring was down, but as I told you, I'm a big fan of his. He's been bringing that energy off the bench all year. And of course, Taylor Horton-Tucker has been getting some run lately. 16 points, including 6 and 7 shooting, 4 for 4 from downtown.
Yeah. I mean, there was some bright spots for that Bulls in that game, and look, they kept it close for a little bit. Like I said, just too much Celtics at the top. Maybe with Tatum, he had 35, and look, I mean, if you're the Bulls, I mean, look, you got some experience. You actually did better than you did last. That 2 games. That's actually 1 game that you did because you only won like 1 game last year. So I guess
well, you got 2 this year.
Yeah, so yay, I guess that's an improvement. But yeah, I mean, the Bulls, they play Brooklyn tonight at the UC. Brooklyn's been kind of up and down lately, so we'll see what happens in that game tonight at UC. But yeah, I mean, the Bulls, I mean, it is what it is. They're it's again, 8-13. Kind of what we all kind of expected after 21 games, about a third through this, just under a third through the season, so a quarter through the season, I should say, so far. But okay, yeah. It kind of going as I expected. I don't know about you, but yeah, it's kind of going as I kind of expected.
Yeah, like you said, it would have been nice for the Bulls to get a free trip to Las Vegas, but it wasn't in the cards, no pun intended. So the regular season continues on for the Chicago Bulls. You mentioned they'll face Brooklyn tonight. Brooklyn will recap the scores from over the weekend, including last night, coming up in just a second. But Brooklyn's coming off a back-to-back. They lost last night to the Orlando Magic at home. So if you're the Bulls, this will be the perfect opportunity to take advantage of it tonight. They had other teams coming to the UC off back-to-backs that haven't done well this year, but hopefully the Bulls have another golden opportunity to do that tonight. What do you expect out of the Bulls tonight against Brooklyn? What do you expect?
Yeah, we'll see how Brooklyn looks as they're kind of, like I said, they might be a little bit tired after coming back from coming from Brooklyn. But yeah, I think if you're the Bulls, you want to try to get these quick starts. I mean, because you know how they are in the first quarter. Sometimes they shoot the ball like lights out. Then other times they're just like so. You want to hopefully get the former in that sense. But yeah, I think just get a quick start early against Brooklyn. They should be okay tonight.
Yeah, hopefully Josh Giddey, I expect him to play better. 4 points on Friday is not going to get it done. Kobe White, as I told you early in the year, when he struggles shooting, he takes the ball to the rack. He's been more aggressive in that sense this year. I need him to do that regardless whether he's shooting the ball hot from the outside and not. I expect him to have a better game and get a better production from your bench. My guy Jalen Smith, I know he only had 2 points on Friday, but I have confidence in him that he's going to step up and bring that energy off the bench like he's been doing for this Bulls team all year. So, and Nikolai Vucevic, will he score 32 points again tonight? I don't know, but he has a great opportunity against that South Brooklyn Nets front line.
Could take the end, I guess you can say, in that game tonight against Brooklyn. Going to the rest of the schedule real quick, and we'll start with yesterday's games. 39 points for Harden as the Clippers get a nice win over the Nuggets, 126-122. Of course, Jokic had 28. He had a double-double there. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about Denver just yet, but the Clippers, I mean, the fact that they actually been playing pretty well, I think, look, you should be, if you're the Clippers, you should be feeling pretty good where you are right now.
Yeah, they're on the current 8-game home winning streak at the new Intuit Dome. So it looks like the Clippers have found their formula of success in that new building. A shout out to Norman Powell. He had a big game last night for them as well. I know he got nicked up a little bit, but he came back to help James Harden finish off that game in style. The different Nuggets, I'm with you, Luki. I'm not too worried about them yet. And I know they got Aaron Gordon back. I had the chance to actually watch some of that game live last night. Aaron Gordon hasn't played in over a month. We all know Jamal Murray's been back for a couple of weeks now, so he's getting back to the swing of things. So give Denver until the beginning of the new year, Lakina, in January. If they're not playing well, then you'll have to start worrying. But they're just starting to get all their key guys back, and we all know that their bench is short because of all the guys that let go in free agency over the last couple of years. But I think once Denver had their main guys stay healthy, I think they'll be fine. They just got to find a couple of people to help Russell Westbrook with the scoring production coming off their bench.
San Antonio edged out the Kings 127-125. Wembanyama, another double-double for him. He had 34 points. Dallas, if you took the over in this game last night against Portland, he had a nice little close here, 137-131. There, Mr. Luka Doncic had 36. The Lakers, edged out Utah. They kind of got their revenge a little bit from about a week ago. AD had 33 points leading the way there, and he had the go-ahead shot to help cement the win for the Lakers.
Yes, we talked about all year long, Lakina. LeBron James can only pick his spots where he could take over and dominate a game, but Anthony Davis is the guy that makes that offense go for the attitude go for that Lakers team. Like you mentioned, he came up with that big basket last night, and he was the man of the hour for the Lakers, especially in the paint last night. I had a chance to watch some of that game live. So if Anthony Davis is healthy, just like we said last year, and he's playing like that, he's definitely a top 5 player in this league, and he showed that once again last night, even against a struggling Utah team on the road.
Right. Houston beat OKC 119-116. Fred VanVleet had 38, and it's kind of interesting how like Houston kind of had OKC's number. This is the second time they beat them this year.
Yeah, as we said before, give credit to Ime Udoka, the former Boston Celtics head coach, now with the Houston Rockets. It looks like he's starting to getting that young talent together. They're right at the top of the heat of the standings in the Western Conference. Can they keep up? We'll see. But you mentioned Freddie VanVleet. He only played almost half the year last year. He's finally healthy again this year. Don't forget about Jalen Green, who they signed to that contract extension on his rookie deal before the season started. So you have a nice collection of young guys. Don't forget about Segun, their big guy as well. He does damage against everybody else, including Chicago. So the Rockets were playing with so much confidence. It is scary. So people, we all knew that the Rockets would take a step up this year, but I'm not going to sit here and say they're this year's OKC. I got to see them if they can keep it up. But if they keep playing like this, they're going to give those top teams in the West trouble. And I think we said this before the season started. You do not want to take Houston lightly on your schedule, so they will play hard and get after it every night.
Yeah, well, they want to run out of gas. That's going to be the question there. Toronto beat Miami. The Knicks, no trouble with New Orleans, as Mikal Bridges had 31. Cleveland edged out Boston in a good game here. I guess they got their revenge after Boston knocked them out the ranks and beating a couple weeks ago, 115-111. Spite up, Donovan Mitchell had 35 points, 33 for Jason Tatum in a losing effort. Memphis beat Indiana. And of course, you talked about the Orlando Brooklyn game from last night as well.
Yeah, going back to that Boston Cleveland game in just a moment, just a second, Lakina. You talked about we talked about about that game a couple weeks ago when Cleveland lost to that Boston. They did come back. I'm talking about Cleveland made it a game, but they just didn't have enough to pull through. Donovan Mitchell, as we talked about, he's playing off the ball this year. You don't have to have him uh, uh, be Mr. Everything for that Cleveland Cavaliers team, and that's credit to their new head coach Kenny Atkinson. Donovan Mitchell stepped up last night, scoring 20 of his 35 points in the fourth quarter.
Saturday's games, you got Dallas beating Utah. Phoenix with a nice win against Golden State. Devin Booker had 27 there, 23 in the losing effort there as Steph kind of struggled from the three-point line. Milwaukee beat Washington. Philadelphia beat Detroit, and Atlanta beat Charlotte 107-104. Jalen Johnson had 20 points for the Hawks there.
Yeah, just one quick comment on that Warriors Suns game. I had a chance to watch a little bit of that game live via this computer screen. That first half, the Warriors just got off to a terrible start. Give them credit for coming back, but the Phoenix was just too much for them, and they're actually playing better since Kevin Durant's return.
Yeah, they have. So hopefully, I think everyone stay healthy. That's going to be their big three has to stay healthy, and that's going to be the key for Phoenix if they want to, be right there to think of it in the Western Conference. Real quick, but this is the NBA Cup games for last Friday. Portland beat Sacramento. OKC beat the Lakers. Boston. Well, we talk about Boston and the Bulls. Miami beat Toronto. Detroit, no trouble with Indiana. The Clippers get edged out by the T-Wolves. Orlando beat Brooklyn. Memphis beat New Orleans. Atlanta beat Cleveland. And the Knicks edged out the Hornets 99-98. It was kind of a thrilling game there.
All right, and let's as you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City, Lakina here with you talking Bulls and the NBA. Before we break for the bottom of the hour, let's go through the schedule for this week. Starting with tonight's games, we'll have New Orleans visiting Atlanta. Miami and Boston will do battle once again from the TD Bank North Garden. At 7 o'clock, as we mentioned, the Bulls will host the Brooklyn Nets. On NBA TV's game of the night, wrapping up the Monday night schedule, we'll have the Los Angeles Lakers going to Minnesota to take on Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and the Minnesota Timberwolves.
All right, and Tuesday, now these are the finishing up of the NBA Cup games. So yeah, one more game for these teams, and then we're gonna get into we'll get into we know the Bulls are eliminated, a few other teams are as well, but these are going to be this is gonna sort out some of the teams and some of the various groups of who will advance to the next round in Las Vegas. Philadelphia and Charlotte, Washington and Cleveland, Detroit hosts Milwaukee, Orlando and the Knicks. That's going to be the first game of the TNT Tuesday doubleheader. Indiana and Toronto, Utah and OKC. Memphis and Dallas should be a good one down there in the Big D. Good one here too. You got San Antonio and Phoenix. They've had their battles already this year, but the last game they San Antonio actually did beat the Suns, but KD wasn't there, so we'll see if any of that changes. Golden State and Denver. That's going to be the second game of the TNT Tuesday doubleheader. And Houston and Sacramento and Portland and the Clippers.
As Lakeem just mentioned, though, this tomorrow night is the last night for the NBA group play in the Emirates NBA Cup tournament for 2024. Your schedule for Wednesday looks like this. Detroit will travel to Boston for the second time this year. Indiana will face Brooklyn. No ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader. TNT will not TNT. NBA TV will take over for Wednesday. Their first game will be the Los Angeles Lakers in the Miami Heat. Other games for Wednesday: Orlando at Philadelphia, Atlanta at Milwaukee. In the second game of that Wednesday night doubleheader on NBA TV, we'll have the Minnesota Timberwolves visiting Intuit Dome for the second time this year, taking on the Los Angeles Clippers.
And I believe that's because of college basketball commitments. That's why there's no NBA doubleheader on ESPN this week anyway. Thursday, we got of course, this is the NBA TV doubleheader game, 6 o'clock. There'll be Denver and Cleveland. That should be a fun one there. Dallas and Washington, Charlotte and MSG facing the Knicks. OKC and Toronto as they continue their East Coast trip. Sacramento and Memphis, Phoenix and the Pelicans at 7, Yeah, the Bulls, their second game of the week, they get the Golden State to face Victor Wembanyama and the gang over down there with the Spurs. And it should be a good one here on NBA TV. The second half of that doubleheader, you got Houston and Golden State. That's just good for this week in the NBA.
You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakita hanging out here with you on your Monday, the first show for us for the month of December. Lakina, we got to get into college football. Just reviewing some of the key games from over a weekend. We had a couple of big upsets. Rivalry weekend has been taken to a new level. We'll discuss. It has some issues there that many people are not talking about. We'll get into a couple of baseball signings. I know your Cubs just made a big signing earlier this morning. And we'll get into old school TV Monday. That and a whole lot more. As you stick and stay, you're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. You're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kennedy on the Twitter, X and Kids Cooking, IG.
We have less than a half hour left of this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. You have any last minute questions or comments for us as we get into the recap of the last weekend from the world of college football? You can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's get into the week 14, which is the last official, I guess you could say, last official regular season week for college football. And let's just say it was very eventful. I guess I don't think anybody really had some of these games going down to the wire here, but Boise State, they beat Oregon State. Georgia needed 8 overtimes, but they beat Georgia Tech 44-42. I'd say that was a good game. That couldn't have gone another overtime with that. But like I said, Illinois State did it better a couple years ago. Just saying. Ole Miss beat Mississippi State in the battle of for the Egg Bowl. Colorado, no trouble with Oklahoma State. Minnesota gets a pump on an X back. They beat Wisconsin. Miami of Ohio, they clinched a spot in the MAC championship game. They beat Bowling Green. Let's see here. San Jose State, they clinched a spot in their title game. They beat they edged out Liberty. Colorado State scored 42 unanswered to beat Utah State as they clinched a spot in the Mountain West title game. Iowa edged out Nebraska, only having 5 first downs. So yeah, that sounds pretty typical for Iowa. that front. That sounds kind of typical there. But all right, I was going to Saturday's games here. Oregon, no trouble with Washington, 49-21. Dylan Gabriel, 209 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, I should say, as the Ducks had no trouble with Oregon. They took care of business against an arch rival in 2 conferences.
Yeah, of course, Oregon wrapped up their spot in the Big Ten championship game that's going to come up this upcoming weekend. We talk about Dylan Gabriel being a top candidate for the Heisman Trophy. He didn't have the world's greatest stats, but he did just enough to give his team a chance to win. 16-23, 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it was the Ducks star running back, Mr. Jordan James, 15 carries, 99 yards and 2 scores.
Nice showing there for the Ducks, taking care of business now. Probably one of the bigger surprises. Ohio State loses their 4th in a row against Michigan, 13-10. It was really the defense for Michigan. Khalil Mullins for Michigan, 116 rushing yards, including some big runs to help get that game-winning field goal for the Wolverines. Sherrone Moore's now 2-0 against Ohio State, and there was a little bit of a skirmish happened after the game. I guess Michigan planted their flag, and I guess Ohio State took offense to that, and I guess there was a pushing and shoving that happened. There was pepper spray. There was all types of weird stuff. It got kind of chaotic. Coach said it was, be classy about it. I'm like, really, dude? Of course, thankful to the people that showed a photo, a clip of Texas, that when they planted their flag, well, it didn't stay, but they planted their flag on Michigan's home turf, and Michigan, I didn't see anybody from Michigan making a big deal about it. So, I don't know, but Sid, what did you think?
Yeah, first of all, on that Michigan-Ohio State game, I did not turn to it until the last 5 minutes of the game. A shout out to Khalil Mullins, the Wolverines' big star running back. It was all about him, 32 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown. And shout out to Michigan's defense that shut out Ohio State in that second half. Lakina, I don't know if Ryan Day should be fired. You know better than I do whether it should be fired or not. I know that's a hot topic around the college football world. We all thought that Ohio State would win, at least going away, but obviously that didn't happen. But Michigan, they played carefree. They had nothing to lose. We all know that this was a year of transition for them anyway, because most of their core players graduated and went on to the NFL. But you're going to hear this in the comment thing in terms of what happened after the game, not just that Michigan-Ohio State game and that Texas game that you mentioned, but it also happened in 6 other games too, where the opposing team had problems with the winning team playing their flags in midfield. I'm old school, but let me just say this. If you're so angry about that, where the hell was that attitude 3 hours prior? Let me repeat that again. and I'm old school about this, you can love me for it or hate me for it, but you get mad that the opposing team planted their flag on your home field. Where is that attitude 3 hours prior? I think it's just at times we get mad at the wrong things, and you put your other priorities among other things that are way more important. If you're so pissed about that, where is that attitude? You could have done something about that 3.5 hours prior. Just saying.
That's about as much bias I saw Ohio State during that whole game. They were doing a lot of chirping, before the game, and Michigan didn't really seem bothered by it. And I think Mullins, said something really cool after the game. So talking to Fox's Jenny Taft, saying that look, we did our thing. Look, don't get mad at us for for you guys not doing what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So. So for me, I think look, we'll talk about that because there were a couple other games that also happened. Well, actually, but look, hey, Ohio State. Where was that fight, during the game? Michigan made you look like silly, made you look stupid. Now, as far as Ryan Day is concerned, I don't think, but he's basically this generation's John Cooper. If you guys remember John Cooper, he basically won all the big games. He couldn't win against Michigan. He was basically 0 against Michigan. He was like 0-5 or 0-6 in the early 90s. So, I'm not saying, Day should lose his job, but at the same time, though, it's basically, look, I've seen this before. I saw this like 30 years ago with John Cooper. So we'll see what the brass at Ohio State decide to do here. Now, because of that, we'll get to that in a second, though, because of that loss of Ohio State. Texas and Texas A&M, 17-7. Quinn Ewers had 219 yards for them, and Quintravion Wisner for Texas, 186 rushing yards. He was really the guy that kind of got the offense going for Texas. And Steve Sarkisian didn't want his guys playing their flag on their home field, end of home field at Kyle Field. But okay, it's fine. But that was just kind of silly. But yeah, Texas took care of business as they faced Georgia on Saturday in the SEC championship game.
When we did our show last Wednesday, I think I called that, asked you, should Texas be on upset alert? I kind of thought they should have, but like you said, it was a hard-fought defensive game, and Texas came up with that big turnover at the end. And sometimes you're a team that's contending for the national championship or contending for a national championship, or you expected to do great things. You're not going to play your best all the time. There's times that you have to find ways to win, even when you're not playing your best, and that's what happened to Texas last Saturday. So kudos to them. It's going to be a heck of a championship game between them and Georgia. We'll preview that on our next show on Friday. But as far as this game against Texas A&M has struggled over the past couple of weeks. Had that bad loss to Auburn, so bad luck for them. But Texas did what they needed to do to preserve that 10-point win.
Should be a full one down there in Atlanta, but like I said, we'll get to that on Friday. Now, because of Ohio State's loss to Michigan, Penn State gets into the Big Ten title game on Friday. They beat Maryland 44-7, took care of business there. 40-35, Notre Dame over USC, and Winston Moss has decided to say bye-bye. He's entered the transfer portal after that loss. I'm sorry, Winston Moss, the quarterback for SC. He does have a year of eligibility left, so welcome to college sports in 2024, going to 2025. Syracuse, nice win for Fran Brown. They upset Miami 42-38. Kyle McCord, of course, who's a transfer from Ohio State, mind you. 380 yards and 4 scores. He threw for 4 TDs as the Orange upset Miami, and we'll get to the closer part of that in a second. But yeah, what do you think about that game, Sid?
Syracuse, they're at home. They caught Miami in a tailspin. Miami got out to a hot start, jumping out to that quick 2-touchdown lead. But Syracuse caught fire, scoring 14 points in that second quarter. Really came out in that third quarter, in my opinion, which I thought set that tone for the whole game. They scored 3 touchdowns. Cam Ward didn't look that great. Lakina is because of that. Miami will not play in that conference title game. They may not play in the college football playoff at all, but we'll get into that in just a second. So for all the people, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit. For all the people thinking, this 12-team playoff is going to be a disaster. The regular season is dead. No, folks. After what you saw this past Saturday, the regular season is not dead, folks.
Exactly. And we'll tell you why that is in a second here. Now, Tennessee pulled away from Vandy. Oh, it's that's actually Syracuse's first win against Miami at the Carrier Dome. You go all the way back to when Donovan McNabb was there back in '98. That's how long it's been since Miami has lost to Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. Indiana, I guess they were very happy about losing to Ohio State. I'm sure when they saw that result, they were like, "Really?" So they got 66-0. South Carolina, this is their second straight win against Clemson, 17-14. Lenore Sellers, 166 rushing yards, including a big rushing TD that sealed that go-ahead touchdown that sealed that win for South Carolina. And I'm sure Don State was probably in the year of the AD. They were telling him to give Shane Beaver a nice little bonus, but I digress. Well, she she got a lot of power there.
Oh yeah.
Alabama, hung on against Auburn. I think Auburn was still kind of like, feeling themselves for the beating Texas A&M, so no trouble for Alabama there in the Iron Bowl. Iowa State beats K-State. We'll tell you why that's significant in a second. BYU bounced back against Houston. Mizzou held on against Arkansas. UNLV held on against the Nevada, let's say Nevada Reno. Illinois, they took back home Atlanta Liquor Trophy. They beat Northwestern 38-28. And again, it was sort of back and forth a little bit, but once again, Illinois, coming back and winning that game down over at Wrigley.
Yeah, and shout out to our girl Colin Mills, who's the sideline reporter for the Big Ten Network. She did a great job, and hopefully we can get this guy on down the road. But Chris Vosters did a great job with Matt Miller on the call.
Yeah, he was really good on the call of that game. And actually, they've been an entertaining game, too. I kind of kept that game in the background because I was watching Michigan, Ohio State in one screen, and I think another screen had South Carolina, Clemson. They got Illinois, Northwestern was like in the bottom, like left-hand corner of the screen, so I kind of had to kill a little thing there. But
I had it on a big screen on my TV.
Well, it was multi-view. It was nothing fancy. It was like a multi-view for YouTube TV. That's one of the good things about having YouTube TV. You get to do like kind of like a quad box, sort of like what the NFL Red Zone does, like a multi-view. But nice win for Illinois. I think they're going to be going to a big bowl game too. They might be going to like the Citrus Bowl or something like that. So it won't be official until Sunday. But nice win for Brett Bielema and his crew. Louisville, no trouble with Kentucky. UConn and UMass. For a second, I thought that was a basketball score for a second, but UConn hung on. Duke beat Wake Forest. They're going to a good bowl game. Baylor took care of Kansas. So depending on what happens, like Kansas is going to be going to a bowl game. There. Rutgers with a nice win against Michigan State. They're going back bowling. UCLA beat Fresno. So they're going to be going bowling. Northern Illinois, finishing strong there after a tough middle of the season, but they're going to be, depending on where they're going to be going on the bowl game wise. Wyoming edged out Wazoo. I know our girl Kelly Anderson is not very happy with that. 13-14. Wazoo's kind of been the tailspin the last couple of weeks. Arizona State against Arizona, they pound them there again. That we'll talk about that in a second here, but finishing up Florida State, again, a case where someone tried to plant their flag and, everyone got – it was actually Mike Norvell, the Florida State coach, that had an issue with that, but he and Billy they were kind of hugged afterwards. So, it's just kind of silly how all this kind of played out. Air Force beat San Diego State and Hawaii in the late cap, held off New Mexico.
Yeah, and LSU, those frauds, Brian Kelly, to be exact, not the players, but they finished strong, beating Oklahoma at home 37-17. LSU is 8-4 on the year. Oklahoma, they dropped to 6-6. So Brian Kelly will get a decent bowl game, but that's another team that had unfulfilled expectations this year, and a couple bad losses didn't help his cause either.
No, but they did that win against Oklahoma though, because if not, I think folks would have been coming for Brian Kelly's head there down there in Baton Rouge. Now, we won't preview them, but here's the setup for the championship weekend. UNLV and Boise State is going to be for the Mountain West title game. On Friday. Tulane and Army, that's for the American Athletic Championship there. Iowa State and Arizona State for the Big 12 title game. Now, the reason why is because of all the tiebreakers and such. It gets a little complicated. That's why for people wondering where's Colorado, there's a reason, because of the tiebreakers and such. So that's why that there. Of course, Georgia and Texas for the SEC title game, and Penn State and Oregon. That's that'll be the Big Ten title game down there in Indy, and also because of that, Kyle McCord actually tweeted out something there. Well, you're welcome, Clemson. So Clemson, they get to the ACC title. They face SMU on Saturday night.
Yeah, just like I said, we'll preview give you the breakdown and preview of these games coming up on Friday. But going to the Big 12 first, Lakina, we talked about it on last Wednesday show with first of all with Colorado. They, as expected, they shut out OK State 52-0 to finish the year 7-2 in the first year of Big 12 play and 9-3 overall. Coach Prime, i.e. Deion Sanders, he did a great job with those young men this year. But as we talked about on our show last Wednesday, that loss to Kansas at Kansas City did them in. Or they should be, let's be real, but they should be playing in the Big 12 title game on Saturday. Now, whether they will want whoever they played, probably not, but they would have given a hell of an effort. But congratulations to Arizona State and Iowa State. BYU, you mentioned they hung on to beat Houston. I did watch some of that game live. They had troubles with the Cougars early, but they did win. But they were the leaders in the clubhouse for that Big 12 title, Lakina. But their bad loss a couple weeks before Colorado's loss against Kansas is what did them in. So, like I said, we'll get into more of this and deeper discussion on Friday. But we talked about before the season started with these conference championship games. They had some weight in years past. Now with the 12-team playoff, it has all the weight and then some. So this is going to be great. And with the Miami Hurricanes looking at that loss, just knocked them out of the ACC title game, and perhaps the college football playoff as well. They were one of the leaders in the clubhouse going in, but that loss at Syracuse last Saturday, it looks like they did them in too.
Yeah, just a kind of questionable things with the defenses and stuff like that. That defense for Miami, and you would think Mario Cristobal, because he was a defensive back on those Miami teams back in the early 90s, got a national championship. So you would think, I guess, but but look, shout out to Clemson. They get in, and look, they probably get in, winning the ACC title game. But SMU may have other ideas. So like I said, we'll get more in depth into that coming up on Friday. Now, going to college hoops real quick. Auburn, they beat North Carolina to clinch the tournament in Miami, in Maui, I should say, Maui in Hawaii. Now, unfortunately, the Bahamas trip wasn't good for UConn. They went over. They're the first team to go over. The first defending champ to go over in a neutral site like tournament game, tournament type games. You got to go all the way back to Purvis Ellison and Louisville back in the 86, 87 season. They went over, because I remember that they went over the Great Alaska Shootout. I don't even think that's still around, the Great Alaska Shootout back over there in Anchorage. Yeah, we are. But look, UConn, they have a tough game coming up on Wednesday, hosting Baylor. That's going to be that's going to be down in Stores, and that game's going to be on FS1 at 5:30. And yeah, that's going to be a tough one for UConn. So we'll see. Maybe a trip home is what the doctor ordered. North Carolina, speaking of, and Alabama, they'll face each other at 6:15 on Wednesday. Florida hosted Virginia on ESPN2. That should be a fun one there. Some of the other games, Iowa State hosting Marquette. Why is this game on television? I don't know, but I digress. Memphis, your buddy, they won that tournament. Well, actually, I think they came second to Iowa, somebody down there in Memphis, but not sure for your buddy Penny Hardaway and that Memphis squad. They host La Tech on Wednesday, and Duke, they and Auburn, they'll face each other on ESPN on Wednesday. So you get to see Cooper Flag again at 8:15 on Wednesday. Pitt against Mississippi State. It's going to be on SEC Network at number 18 Pitt, I should say. DePaul, they're undefeated right now, but they got to go down to Texas to play Texas Tech. That should be a fun one. That's going to be on ESPNU. So Chris Holman and his guys, they're undefeated right now. A couple, Big Ten. You got early Big Ten action. Pac-10, I should say. You got Oregon and SC. That's gonna be on the Big Ten network. And San Diego State, they're number 24. They face Fresno State on FS1. So a couple of good matchups going to the first week of December for college hoops.
And shout out to the Fighting Illini. They beat that ass in the Arkansas Razorbacks. Coach Calipari, take that. As the Fighting Illini beat the Arkansas Razorbacks by 13 last Thursday on Thanksgiving Day. It was something nice if you were a Chicago sports fan after watching that disaster with the Bears.
Yeah, that was actually the real game there. But yeah, I'm not sure about Illini. Look, they've been playing pretty well so far. They got a pretty much a brand new squad, so they're meshing pretty well. We'll see, because they actually start Big Ten play coming up later this month, so we'll see because of the way it's structured now. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, should be a good one going to the Big Ten. Of course, Purdue's looked really good so far. I think people thought that was going to be a rebuild year for Purdue. So far, they've looked really good. Michigan with Dusty May. I know they had a couple of losses, but they look pretty good. Let's see. UCLA is kind of falling off. They kind of bounce back. So look, we got nice. We'll get into college who's in depth, but yeah, so far, I mean, Kansas has been looking really good. I know you commented about them, and Duke's been up and down. They had a couple of losses, but Kentucky's looking really good too. So so far so good. In college hoops.
Yeah, and one more note about college hoops before we move on. Luke Carnesecca, the former coach of the St. John's Red Storm University, he passed away at the age of 91 over the weekend. He had, I believe, 596 career wins at St. John's. Of course, that program came to prominence in the 80s. He had legendary players like Mark Jackson, Chris Mullin, and former Chicago Bull Bill Wennington, of course. He played with the Bulls in the late 90s on their last 3P team. He was part of that St. John's team back in the day. We talked about the late great head coach John Thompson bringing that physical play into the Big East back in the day. That was one of the reasons why ESPN TV's college basketball coverage jumped off back in the day because remember Big East Monday? It was them, UConn, Syracuse with the great Jim Boeheim, and of course St. John's was part of that as well. Luke Carnesecca, one of the college basketball coaches, the greats, passed away over the weekend.
Yeah, just a larger than life figure. Of course, his sweaters and I think Mark Jackson just posted a photo of seeing his former college coach. I think it was about like a month before he passed, and 18 NCAA tournament appearances. Of course, he went to that Final Four in '85 with Chris Mullin leading the way there. They did win the Big East conference title twice, 4 regular season conference titles for the St. John's during Mr. Carnesecca's time there. 18 20-win seasons, and of course was a part of that great with him, and of course John Thompson and Jr. at Georgetown, of course Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. Those 3 were kind of like the big 3, I guess, for the Big East. Of course, Jim Calhoun didn't come until like a few years later. Providence, of course, they had their time to shine. It'll be actually 40 years this coming March of when they won a national championship game with Ed Pitney and the late great Wally Massimino and that group. Pitts, of course, those teams. So yeah, Pittsburgh, those teams. So yeah, he was definitely one of those guys that he still went to the game. I think he went to a couple games with when Rick Pitino. I know he posted really cool. I know he saw him a few times before his health cut took a turn with what Coach Pitino did. So it's just a great figure, and of course we lose a lot of great legends in college. Another great legend in college sports lost there, but yeah, just a great figure, and of course, rest in peace to him, and of course, shout prayers to his wife Mary, and all the players like the Mark Jacksons, the Chris Mullins, Bill Wellingtons, of course, the late great Malik Sealy's. Just a really great, great coach, and a really large than life figure in college hoops.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago City. Lakina here. We have a couple of minutes left before we end it with Old School TV Monday. Lakina, couple of notes in baseball in terms of both of our Chicago teams. So White Sox, they retain a couple of coaches on their coaching staff, including pitching coach Ethan Katz, and of course on the north side, the Chicago Cubs signed reliever Matthew Boyd from the Cleveland Guardians, 2 years, $29 million.
That's a lot of money for a guy that has he's good when he's healthy, but he has had trouble staying healthy. That's really like okay. We could have paid Blake Snell. All right. I guess what they need relief help, I guess, but yeah, that's a lot of money to give to a guy that has had trouble staying healthy in the last few years. But again, look, what do I know? I don't know anything. What do I know? Yeah.
You were figured that this would not be the last move that the Cubs would make. We'll remind you that the GM meetings in Dallas will start next Sunday, December
Mhm.
8th. So hopefully we're going to bring on a guest or two. Hopefully hopefully some more big moves will be made. And I'm sure that the Juan Soto's decision hopefully would be made by then as well. So, and that's your news on both our Chicago teams in terms of baseball. Lakina, I'm with you. You know, I'm not a Cubs fan, but just look at from an outsider perspective, looking in, I don't think this will be the biggest move that Jed Hoyer will make. We've been saying, they need starting pitching because of depth and potential health. We saw Justice Steele. He's good when he's healthy, but he had some injuries problems last year. Yeah, other guys that tried to fill in, but they wore down too. There's been rumors about them now trying to trade Cody Bellinger. No, you're not going to get what you want if you try to do that. But you still need a big bat, but you need another starting pitcher first. And it looks like it may come via trade. I'm with you, Lakina. Let's go.
Oh boy, and to be continued, I'm sure there's going to be more baseball moves. I'm sure this week, right before the GM meetings start on Sunday. Listen to Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. Lakina McGee, stay around with you, of course. It's that time of year. Is that time sit on the show on Monday. Where are we going to next? Go to next for Old School TV Monday this week.
You remember when Fox Network got started in the late 80s, they had their shows, especially on Sundays, like Married with Children, 21 Jump Street, In Living Color, Rare Wolf. We'll do that show down the road. But in the Tracy Ullman show, which in the comics, which speared over to their longest running show on that network called The Simpsons, we'll do that show down the road. But they also had another show squeezed in there in that Sunday night lineup called Parker Lewis Can't Lose. That's right. Parker Lewis Can't Lose was an American teen sitcom that originally aired on Fox from September of 1990 until June of 1993. It was produced by Clyde Phillips Productions in association with Columbia Pictures Television. The series depicted the trials and tribulations of the title character Parker Lewis, played by Corin Nemec, a Santo Domingo high school student whose nothing is impossible and was strongly influenced by the feature film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And the premise of the show was Parker Lewis. It featured a titular character as freaking narrator of the episodes. Alongside Parker, Jerry Steiner and Mikey Randall were the main characters whose primary focus was through the show is fitting in. The show revolved around the experiences of these characters as they navigated through the challenges of adolescence and strive for social acceptance within their high school. Their efforts were often thwarted by Parker's little sister Shelley and the school principal Grace Musso. The series focused on the teenage lives of its characters and had a cartoon-like style quality through its live action. Many episodes contained references to pop culture, politics, and celebrities. The surrealism was toned down in the series' final season, going as far as having Parker acknowledge this by breaking the fourth wall and canceling, quote-unquote, one of the show's transitions.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny how they did that. We've seen some shows have done that before though, when they kind of like announce that they're being ending or they're being canceled. So that's another that again, they were kind of one of the I want to say they're not the first show to have done that, but they were actually kind of like made it blatantly obvious about it. So that's kind of like how they did it back in the day. But yeah, I think Parker Lewis was Can't Lose was one of those shows where it was supposed to meant to be serious, but it wasn't really serious. So they kind of dealt with some issues, but they did in a very like funny and kind of like realistic way. It wasn't like preachy or beating you over the head with it, especially for it's supposed to be a sitcom. This wasn't like a dramedy or even like a drama. This half-hour drama. This was a sitcom, and they kept it like really, really kind of like funny and engaging, but also kind of like realistic as well as you could for that time.
And they were nominated for a Young Artist Award all 3 years they were on the air, 91 through 93, including Best New Family Television Comedy Series, Best Young Actress starring in a New Television Series, Outstanding Young Comedian in a Television Series, Best Young Actress co-starring in a Television Series, and Best Actor co-starring in a television series. And another fun note about Parker Lewis, throughout his legacy of the show that's being marked to this day. Fall Out Boy released a song called Parker Lewis Can't Lose, but I'm going to give it my best shot on their album, Fall Out Boy's Evening Out with Your Girlfriend, on SWV's 1992 debut album. For you hip hop heads out there, is album called It's About Time. It was a song called Black Pudding, which included the line Parker Lewis Can't Lose in Santo Domingo. And of course, hip hop group Naughty by Nature's song Hip Hop Parade. They referred to Parker Lewis' character in that song. If you know which line I'm talking about, you know that they're right. So the hip hop community and the R&B community also gave Parker Lewis some love.
That was actually pretty refreshing to see. So that was it kind of like cross reference a lot of that. Now, Corin, I've actually saw him in one of those streaming shows. I forgot which streaming show was it, but he's still acting. Practically pretty consistently the last few years. I know Tim Stack, who played one of the science teacher. I know he's been a voice actor for many years and does some comedic stuff. So he still works. I think Melanie Chardoff, who played Miss Musso, who actually is one of the nicest people. I know her character was a little bit of a hard ass, but she actually is one of the nicest people. She still acts occasionally. So yeah, some of the folks there are still acting in the various parts. But Parker Lewis is one of those shows that it probably would not have lasted had it lasted longer. But it was actually the 3 years. I think it was actually 3 years actually a perfect run. May not be a lot, but it's actually a perfect run for some shows. I think that's one of them.
Yeah. And one more song that referenced Parker Lewis from the hip hop community in the early 90s, the 1992 House of Pain song, Feel It. It included the line, I can't lose like Parker Lewis, I'm undefeated.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it definitely has it definitely kept it definitely made a statement on pop culture. It became a pop culture phenomenon. The show did. So just as Sid said, with all the references to all the songs, the hip hop and the R&B songs, that was it, because it was actually a very popular show among Black households. Oddly enough, go figure. So but yeah, I know most of the episodes are on YouTube. It's not streaming anywhere, which it should be. But you can't get most of not all the episodes on YouTube, so it's all right there.
And the first two seasons, complete seasons, are available for DVD as well.
Yep. Yeah.
So for old school, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. So for Old School TV Monday, we salute the early 90s teen sitcom Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Lakina closes out.
I can't do that. I can't. I was trying to do the music cues for it, because that's really kind of like what grabs you right away, but I'm not even going to try. You can follow me at Keita McGee on the Twitter, Execute on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at Warp Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give Warp Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, you can get the replays of Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere, right there on the Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels, all right there for you. And we will provide you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. You can catch replays of all our shows, Sean and Maya, the Smokefels, and a whole lot more. Catch Sports Zone Chicago on the Facebook, YouTube, channels, the replays anytime, anywhere.
And we will provide.
All right, folks, enjoy all the great, basketball, both college and pro. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, breaking news on various other things as well. Of course, we'll talk NFL Week 14, and also, of course, we're going to get into Championship Saturday in college football, some college hoops, and a whole lot more. So enjoy all the great action this week, and stay warm out there. I know it's going to be a little bit cold. Go to December, folks. So for Sid, I'm the Kids of the Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Doubles, holla!